Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Today's phrase is to prop up. That can be a metaphor, or it can be something which is real and literal. It means when you either give money to someone or something to keep it alive, or when you literally help someone to stand upright. Let me give you a few examples just to make it clearer. During COVID, the government propped up the hospitality industry by giving it billions of pounds. Our local government regularly prop up community groups which are failing. And of course, we have the literal examples. The man was so drunk that he propped himself up against the wall so that nobody saw he was drunk. The children, realizing that the tree was damaged and was beginning to fall down, tied some rope around it to prop it up. Some local governments here in the UK are failing, and the central government is planning to prop them up. To prop up, or to prop something up, is to make it okay again, to make it suitable for working again. So if you see someone lying on the ground, you would pick them up. But if you see someone who's having problems walking, or maybe they're staggering a little bit, or looks like they're going to fall, you might help prop them up. After a storm, you might find some damaged plants or trees that need to be propped up or need propping up. In my garden, I have a couple of little pine trees. And after the winter was over, I think we can say the winter's over now, I went and put some bricks near them to help prop them up because they had fallen to one side. To prop up. Our government is currently propping up the local governments who have gone bankrupt by giving them more money. So you can see, or you can hear, that propping up is not just physically helping something, it's also maybe financially helping or doing things to ensure that they survive, if we're talking about companies. To prop up. I remember the last time I was flying on an aeroplane. There was an air hostess and she looked very old. And I remember thinking, surely there must be somebody propping her up because she looks too old to be walking. But then I remembered that airline staff, they generally look much older anyway, don't they? Because their skin becomes dehydrated. So it's a normal thing for them to look older than they are. Here in the UK in the 1960s, you had to retire when you reached age 32 or 33 because you were no longer useful and it was felt you were no longer beautiful. Oh, times have changed now, and you can see air hostesses who are both old and young. We don't generally separate the air host and air hostesses between masculine and feminine anymore. It's a little bit like the word actor. We used to say actor and actress. Now everyone's just an actor. It's the same with people who work on the airline. we generally just refer to them now as cabin crew, or flight attendants. We don't generally use any kind of gender segregation. Perhaps in the morning time you feel like you need a bit of propping up with a cup of coffee. Now, that's another good metaphor that you can use. So it doesn't have to be about something that's physically falling down. It can also be used to describe your mental state. Oh, I need a good coffee to prop me up in the morning. A way you can say that that's related to the airline industry is you can say, oh, I'm on autopilot today. It means that you aren't really thinking very much. You're just guided by your usual basic routines, in the same way as if the pilot on the airline goes on to autopilot, he can take a little break and let the plane guide itself. Right, let's get back to this idea of propping up. But just before we do that, speaking of air hosts, hostesses, and flight attendants, did you know that during the 1960s, here in the UK, the airline uniform used to be made of paper for women? I mean, these days, when they go to serve us food, as you probably know, they put on a little apron, or as we call them, a bib. It goes over your head, like a child's bib, so they don't spill food on their clothes. Well, in the old days, the uniform itself was actually made of paper. And in those days, of course, you had full access to things like cigarette lighters when you were traveling. I'm not sure you can actually smoke on the plane, but you certainly could use cigarette lighters, because I remember it was quite a fashion in those days, if you were traveling, to ask for something from the overhead locker and then to try to burn the paper of the uniform that the lady was wearing. I don't know why we did that. It sounds a little bit dangerous, doesn't it? But anyway, it forced the airlines to bring in a flame-proof uniform, a uniform which couldn't go on fire. So they brought in these flame-proof or fire-proof uniforms for the airline staff. And then, of course, slowly they changed into the uniforms we know today, which are just very smart and very beautiful. Sometimes when you're lying in bed, you need to be propped up by a pillow, especially if you want to watch television. Now, I can see in the news today, there's a story, just jumping back again to airlines. This story is saying that some people who have been traveling with British Airways were really surprised one day when, out of the blue, that just means without warning, they were told that they'll no longer get free food. And this has always been one of the wonderful things about British Airways. You actually get free food when you are traveling with them. Well, that was the case right up until the announcement a few days ago, which happened mid-flight. They suddenly announced, well, sorry, but we're charging for food now, and all of our systems have been updated. So if you want something, here are the prices. I'm not aware that British Airways needs to be propped up financially, so it's strange that they're doing this, but like everything else these days, things are becoming a little bit more expensive. Also, in the UK news today, I can see that Lulu has announced she's going to retire. She was a very famous singer in the 1960s and continues to sing today. You might know her, especially if you like pop music, although she's not had a hit for many years. Now, that's a woman who needs no propping up. She's 75 and she continues to sing. As far as I remember, she was married to one of the Bee Gees, if you remember them. Well, Lulu was Scottish. Well, she is Scottish. And her real name is Marie MacDonald McLaughlin Laurie. And there's all kinds of things online these days about her personal life since she's decided to retire. I never liked her. It's very interesting because she has one of those very loud voices. But aside from that, the other thing I don't like is she's a very old lady and her image is one of a teenage girl. So she wears kind of crazy outfits, which are not really appropriate for her age, but maybe are appropriate for her image. So that's just my personal opinion. I don't really like her because she doesn't really fit the image of a typical 75-year-old. And it looks a little bit strange when I see her wearing all these costumes and I remember how old she is. I never really appreciated her music either, but she is very, very famous, and I think she represented the UK in Eurovision in the 1960s with a song Boom Boom a Bang, if you like Eurovision. So yeah, Lulu will be retiring. Um, I'm not sure, but I think she also did a James Bond theme. I don't know which one it was, but I'm sure she did one of them. Yeah, she sang the theme for the James Bond movie, The Man with the Golden Gun. Yeah, oh, very interesting. So yeah, another one gone. She's 75 and she'll be stopping singing and she's having her farewell tour, I think later this year. So very interesting, very interesting. Well, just to give you some updates, today and tomorrow there won't be any transcripts because today I have some things to do, and tomorrow will be the same. In English, British English, when you talk about things that you have to do and you don't name them, you can say, oh, I'll be busy. I just have to see a man about a dog. That's a very nice way of saying, I'll be busy doing things which I'm not going to tell you about. Yeah, I need to run. I have to see a man about a dog. It doesn't have to be anything serious. It doesn't have to be anything major. It's just a way of saying you'll be busy. Yeah, I have to see a man about a dog. And that's it from me for today. So I hope you've enjoyed this. And hopefully you won't need propping up today. You'll be wide awake and bushy-tailed, as we say in English. See you. Take care. Bye.